So get comfortable, clutch your coffee close, stay warm. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Poetic Eye. My name is Parker Menzimer. Thanks, Catherine. I'm the Public Programs Manager at the Poetry Society of America. And I'm thrilled to be joined today by four of New York's greatest working poets, eminent poets, Catherine Barnett, Nick Flynn, Marie Howe, and Lundy Martin, for this reading on the themes of everyday life, love, loneliness, and grief. It's such a rare pleasure to be able to assemble poets of this caliber for one reading, one program, and it's really a joy to have these four with us today. So please do your best to really bask in this for the next 50 minutes. I will be. So today's program, the format of the reading, is going to be a roundtable reading. We'll hear from each poet in succession, reading from his, her, or their latest collection of poems, and books by our authors today are available from Powerhouse Books. And I was going to say Powerhouse Books to my right, but that's not the case anymore. So Powerhouse is selling books outside to the left of where the main stage would have been. So just down those big steps to your left. And our authors will be signing books immediately following the program. I also just wanted to thank all of the organizers of the Brooklyn Book Festival for being a wonderful promoter of poetry in the borough and in New York. I wanted to thank Anna and Denisha, who have been wonderful partners in putting this together. I don't believe either of them are here, but they've been wonderful. And I wanted to thank my colleague, Brett Lauer, who's not here, but he was instrumental in putting this panel together. And some of you may know Brett, or many of you may know Brett, but he's done a lot over the last couple of decades for poetry here in New York City. And so I just wanted to thank him for helping to organize this panel as well. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first reader. Catherine Barnett is the author of 4 poetry collections, including Solutions for the Problem of Bodies in Space, her latest, which is available for sale today, and Human Hours, which was a winner of the Believer Book Award and a New York Times Best Poetry of 2018 selection. Solutions for the Problem of Bodies in Space is a troubleshooting manual for loneliness, and a reader discovers in Barnett an ideal Virgil for navigating the more elegiac passages of contemporary life. Diane Wiest writes that these poems, quote, make a case for love, and indeed these poems, which on one hand explore and luxuriate in an affect of solitude, celebrate, in effect, what makes loneliness possible to see, that is, life's true X factor, hey Don, love and human connection. Barnett writes, quote, when I teach, I seem to let all 12 hearts beat inside my own. No wonder it's both an opiate and a weight. Does a heart adjust to other hearts in the room, the way our periods synchronize, the way I hold my head mirroring yours? A Guggenheim Fellow, she received a 2022 Arts and Letters Award in Literature from the American Academy of Arts and Letters, among other recognitions. Her work has been published in The New Yorker, the New York Review of Books, the Yale Review, The Nation, Harper's, and elsewhere. She teaches in NYU's MFA program and works as an independent editor. Please give a round of applause for our first reader, Catherine.
Can you make sure you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I'm Catherine. Nice to be here with you. I'm going to read, in this new collection, I have 10 studies in loneliness. And since the topic is everything, loneliness, love, grief, and everyday everything, I'll start with one of my studies in loneliness. Studies in loneliness. I take issue with all the studies saying, beware loneliness, avoid loneliness, it will speed your death. I say it will speed your death only if you believe it's a toxin. Imagine loneliness is a drug curing you of loneliness. This is what I believe this late morning before the dermatologist looks at me as if I were a carpet with stains. I have to lie down while she examines me for moles. She tells me I have calluses from sitting so much. She reminds me of the studies that show women who get Botox receive more positive reinforcement. I tell her, no, thank you very much. She says Botox could lower my raised eyebrow. She says she doesn't give Botox to people who need to feel empathy, which I do, deeply, in order not to feel lonely. At $500 a shot, Botox is an agent of loneliness. I thought about beginning an essay with Aristotle's rhetoric and talking about the pathos, ethos, and logos of loneliness, the id of loneliness. Studies indicate that those high on the neuroticism scale are also high on the UCLA loneliness scale. But I think the existential danger of loneliness awakens the imagination, fuels it. Who knows you best in the world? Who knows me best are these black notebooks, purchased in bulk, used up one by one. But you can't trust what you find there. For example, sometimes I'm the angel of loneliness, sometimes the Bigfoot of loneliness, sometimes a researcher, sometimes subject. How to prepare. Is my voice wobbling in a way that's bothering you? Okay. How to prepare. Best not to dream of death as an enormous spider crossing an empty highway. Instead, imagine something all your own to kiss and hug, and small hummingbirds that look like azure foil. If you too awaken between 3 and 5 a.m. to stare into the abyss where flies gather, call me. I'll talk you through until morning. If you sign the release form, I can cite you in the study. Release, yes, that's the term I was looking for. Shake your night clothes out well. The human condition is made of moisture and heat. So far, my research is very ad hoc, like dreaming. I lay my head on the pillow by itself and press record. Some of us will die alone in our sleep, peacefully. Because I know I talk in my sleep, I hope one day to transcribe these recordings and the sound of children passing now by the open window. This poem is called Triumph of Dionysius and the Seasons, and it takes place on Route 2 and in the Met, when there was the Alice Neal show that maybe some of us went to, maybe some of you and I did go to. Triumph of Dionysius and the Seasons. I don't want to find myself being choked by binocular straps slipped over my head and around my neck. But were it to happen, I know not to show fear. Far better to ask the stranger matching his steps to mine about the ducks floating on the lake or the clouds in the sky. Ask anything to show with your questions you're not afraid. You don't understand what's happening, which is easy for me. No need to feign not understanding. It follows me, even to the metropolitan where there are no remote trails around no lake. Nothing to be afraid of. All of us hurrying past the Roman sarcophagus with its final inscription not yet carved into the marble. Upstairs, Alice Neal is naked, staring out at us from a late, unsparing self-portrait, holding a brush in her right hand. What's that patch of blue? I asked the guard, who kept me from getting too close. I wanted to see how it was done, how she painted scars and betrayal and loss, and the bowl of fruit, the clear glass bottle from a New York that no longer exists. Quote, visiting a museum is a matter of going from void to void, said Robert Smithson, whose spirit Neal captured in a portrait that will, like everything in this show, like everyone studying the awful dichotomies mentioned in the museum placards, be removed, replaced by something equally beautiful. On canvas, Smithson is still a young man. He hadn't yet died, hadn't yet hauled 6,000 tons of black basalt and local soil to the Great Salt Lake, where he spread the organic and inorganic materials into a spiral that disappears and reappears from its useless berm. Walking by, a woman looked up at him and said, "I don't like his face." But I did. I liked even her face. I liked all the faces I saw, faces that would soon or had already become diatomaceous earth. How crowded the museum was, and cool, so cool my red summer dress, still sweaty from having rushed across the park, tracked by dread, traffic, time, digitized to a small blue circle circling the reservoir. Its laughing summer gulls was like my own skin, weightless and damp and cold when a stranger, mistaking me for someone else, or taking a shine to my silver braid, my mottled calves, matched his steps to mine, and without a word pressed his hand gently against my lower back. Gently. There was no reason to be reassured. I couldn't shake him. I couldn't shake the feeling of him. Like that, we walked side by side, hurrying up and slowing down into the last gallery, the human comedy, the words stenciled directly onto the far wall. I might have thought to ask if he had read Balzac or Dante. I should have asked. I couldn't shake him, or I couldn't shake the feeling of him. I could hear his shoes tapping the cool museum floor. I could feel his hand steady against my back, like the touch of an assailant or a shepherd. I didn't ask which. I'm going to end with Studies in Loneliness, mostly because the wonderful Marie Howe shows up in it. Studies in Loneliness, which is to say what you already know through experience, that loneliness happens even in the midst of people, that possessions are a common placebo, that my dining room table faces a wall of books. Could anyone be lonely with all these books, I ask my son, who likes silence more than I do? Everything that gets expelled is strange, even a child. Spit, tears, blood, breath. Seems we are afloat in an ocean of estrangement ever since that first expulsion. So I activate my mirror neurons, which activate my brow, which furrows into the lines they call 11s. Do I look angry or just sad? I am sad. My mother will soon die. We bathed with her, we slept beside her. I keep buying secondhand cashmere sweaters because wearing cashmere makes me feel as if I'm wearing another human body. Sometimes I try to soothe myself by repairing things. Marie resold a pair of shoes 4 times before the cobbler said, "Marie, I think that's about it." Having supplies can seem like an antidote to loneliness, which might explain why I filled my basement with cereal and light bulbs. I don't want to know what it's like underground. Is this why we have dogs leashed to us? Children, things, lines once heard we can't forget. Back out of all this now, too much for us. The moon is my mother. In a package of minutes, there is this we. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Our next reader, Marie Howe, is the former Poet Laureate of New York. the recipient of fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, the Guggenheim Foundation, and the Academy of American Poets. She teaches at Sarah Lawrence College and lives in New York City. Her most recent book is New and Selected Poems, which is available today from Powerhouse. And this New and Selected from Norton is such a gift, a beautiful royal blue and gold volume that contains Howe's searching and enlightening verse going back to her seminal first collection, The Good Thief. I wanted to welcome you today into Howe's reading by sharing a couple of words from her poem, The Meadow. As we walk into words that have waited for you to enter them, so the meadow, muddy with dreams, is gathering itself together. Please give a round of applause for Marie Howe.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. It's nice to be inside. I'm so happy to be with these three great readers, and I'm really looking forward to hearing everyone. So I was saying to Nick Flynn on the way here, what are the topics? Grief, loneliness, and he said, Eros. He threw that in. It wasn't really part of the topic. So I thought I would start with the first poem I ever really wrote that felt like a poem. It's a short one. It's called Part of Eve's Discussion. So Eve's talking about a certain moment in her life. She says it's like this. It was like the moment when a bird decides not to eat from your hand and flies. Just before it flies, the moment the rivers seem to still and stop because a storm is coming, but there is no storm, as when 100 starlings lift and bank together before they wheel and drop, very much like the moment driving on bad ice when it occurs to you your car could spin just before it slowly begins to spin, like the moment just before you forgot what it was you were about to say. It was like that. And after that, it was still like that, only all the time. What we did to postscript. What we did to the earth, we did to our daughters, one after the other. What we did to the trees, we did to our elders, stacked in their wheelchairs by the lunchroom door. What we did to our daughters, we did to our sons, calling out for their mothers. What we did to the trees, what we did to the earth, we did to our sons, to our daughters. What we did to the cow, to the pig, to the lamb, we did to the earth, butchered and milked it. Few of us knew what the bird calls meant or what the fires were saying. We took of earth and took and took, and the earth seemed not to mind until one of our daughters shouted. It was right in front of you, right in front of your eyes, and you didn't see. The air turned red. The ocean grew teeth. Here's a poem that reminds us of how it used to be before the machines became our daily practice. And it's about aloneness that's not lonely, I guess. And it's when we used to have phones that were still attached to the wall. And when we walked away, we didn't have the phone with us. And if you weren't home, you didn't know anybody called. And we wrote letters. So here's a poem called The Letter, 1968. This is for Nick, for the eros of loneliness. The letter. That he wrote it with his hand and that he wrote it with his hand and folded the paper and slipped it into the envelope and sealed it with his tongue and pressed it closed so I might open it with my fingers. That he brought it to the box and slipped it through the slot so that it might be carried through time and weather to where I waited on the front porch step. We knew how to wait then. It was what life was, much of it. So when the mailman came up the walk and didn't have it, he might have it the next day or the next, when it bore the mark of his hand, who had written my name, so I might open it and read it again and again, and look at the envelope he'd sealed and press my mouth to where his mouth had been. Is that our water? Is that our collective water? And I'm going to finish with a poem that was inspired in part by a great poem by the great Derek Walcott, who wrote a poem called The Season of Phantasmal Peace. Does anybody know that poem? Please go home, or when this is over, Google it. It's this big, it's gorgeous, and it's a vision of something that seems impossible. And more, I'm asking everyone, including myself, foolish as it is, to imagine the future in a way we want to imagine it. And I don't mean practically, I mean foolishly, to imagine the impossible. Would you do that, please? So here's a poem that's a kind of vision. It's called Hymn, H-Y-M-N, like a hymn that people sing. So this first hum is people, the sound of people, humans. Hymn. It began as an almost inaudible hum, low and long for the solar winds and far dim galaxies. A hymn growing louder for the moon and the sun, a song without words for the snow falling, for snow, conceiving rain, the rivers rushing without shame, the hum turning again higher into a riff of ridges, peaks hard as consonants, summits and praise for the rocky faults and crust and crevices, then down to the roots and rocks and burrows, the lakes, skittery surfaces, wells, oceans, breaking waves, the salt deep, the warm bodies moving within it, the cold deep, the deep underneath gleaming. Some of us rising as the planet turned into dawn, some lying down as it turned into dark. As each of us rested, another woke, standing among the cast-off cartons and automobiles. We left the factories and stood in the parking lots, left the subways and stood on the sidewalks, in the bright offices, in the cluttered yards, in the farmed fields, in the mud of the shanty towns, breaking into harmonies we had not known possible, finding the chords as we found our true place, singing in a million keys, the human hymn of praise for every something else there is and ever was and will be, the song growing louder and rising. Listen, I too believed it was a dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie. Our next reader is Nick Flynn. Nick Flynn is the author of 13 books, including most recently Low from Grey Wolf and Some Ether, winner of the Penn Joyce Osterweil Award. Flynn's Low so wonderfully embodies the theme of today's reading. It's full of moments of spirit suffusing the everyday. There's a clear-eyed quality to Flynn's writing that reaches higher, yes, recovering beauty from the ordinary, and reaches lower, too, seeing death as the corollary to life, decay as the corollary to growth. In I'm a Town, he writes, I am a town held together by paint. One day you'll forget I exist. I am the book that no one has read. Silverfish made me their home. And you might think that those words betray the poet's somewhat bleak outlook, but consider the radical faith in art contained in the first lines of Flynn's poem, Hothouse. I whisper your name, and a garden appears. Flynn is a restless, form-defying writer whose work studies, in the words of Padre Gautama, music, masculinity and mayhem, company and loneliness, desire, disaster, and determination. His best-selling memoir, Another Bullshit Night in Suck City, was made into a film starring Robert De Niro and has been translated into 15 languages. Please give a round of applause for Nick Flynn.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. Look at all you. Thanks for coming in this rain. And really such an honor to read with these folks. Really an honor. And just to be here at Brooklyn. I had a bike over from 10 blocks away. So I'm going to read from Low. Look at the time. It's called Water Cycle. All the rain in the world is falling, making a door you can't open. On one side of this door, your body, you're inside it now. On the other side, your other body, the one you've been trying to enter since you were born. To find yourself, you must cross this threshold of rain. Each drop whispers, you will not be this beautiful forever. One day you will grow so luminous, this world will not be able to contain it. As a newborn, you were held close to your father's chest to imprint his smell upon you. Where did he go? From here, you can almost make him out, the you wanted to be, though he's more a silhouette than a hand you could hold. Careful now, a hole has opened at your feet, all the rain spiraling down it, nowhere else to go, like that chart on the wall in elementary school, the water cycle, how it leaps from liquid to gas to solid to teardrop to icicle to steam to waterfall to piss, an arrow connecting each. Nothing is ever lost. No one is ever unlost. Besides, it hurts to have skin, to pour a soul into. I think we're really lucky that we got inside today. Lucky. Marie was my first teacher of poetry. I was very old then, and she was very young at that point. And it really was a very fortunate thing to get to work with Marie at that time. It's called Unbroken. As if the past were riding up to meet you, as if the past could ride a horse, as if the past were a horse wandering riderless along a dusty road, as if the horse had never been ridden. They say a horse is broken when the rider can stay on. They say the past is broken when you can let go of it. I've broken with the past, she says. I've erased it from my phone. I've blinded my eyes from her eyes. I didn't know the past was made of horses. I didn't even call it a horse until now. I didn't even call it strange until I looked back on it. The past was a horse crossing the desert, a body draped over it. This is how we get the beloved home. Strange now to never hear a horse upon waking or when out in the field. I didn't know the past would come for me. I didn't even call it the past until now. Sometimes one gallops past, but no one else ever sees it. I just want to put in a plug for the people that came from other countries to set up book tables outside. For you to go and at least like say hi to them in this rain. I did before I got here. I walked around and commiserated. Volunteers. From a distance, the city looks blanketed in smoke. Inside, it's hard to breathe. A song is playing. The walls are spattered with, what is that? Oil? That soldier, this isn't his house. It wasn't his sister. The explosion, it came from somewhere outside of him. It was called in. This house, if we can empty it of all meaning, we will be safe. What about the house next to it and the house next to that? That song has been playing this whole time, an almost imperceptible drone. The family, they live in a camp now. The student, she didn't finish her assignment. The patient, he's on life support. The garden, seed blew in from fields 100 miles away. Here's another water poem. I got quite wet on the way here. But in a good way, though. Anchor. If you fill your house with water, it will, at some point, push all the windows out. It will seep through the seams, where the door meets the frame. Then it will open the door. From the sidewalk, it will look like a fountain, the lawn now thick with it, the membrane between air and water dissolved. Can you imagine what it's like to become all of one thing? That tunnel they talk about, the one you enter on your way out, it is carved through stone, surrounded by water, and the water is leaking in. Stretch out your hands. It is rushing past you, up to your ankles now. It pulls you along. It's going where you are going. How long can you hold your breath? I'll read 2 more poems. Is that the one I want? Yeah, since this is, I said about grieving, right? Is that what we're about? Something about that? Okay. It's called Pieta. The other ones weren't grieving poems. This is Pieta. At first, it was unacceptable. Strangers dressed in black, walking away or toward a hole in the ground, each a version of you. 700 reasons to dig holes in the earth. Some look for water, some need a fence, some for this seed, some for that body. My God, your body. When you died, I didn't cry or even think of it as change. The air didn't change. Clocks stayed lit. Trees had more trees hidden inside. I'd thought of you as dead for years. I think of everyone as dead, moving through this ghost world, walking a tree-lined path, dressed in black, the memory of a lover as strong some days as the lover beside me. As a child, so many went away. First, the dogs, mostly, the pets, then a distant uncle, then a neighbor, then it came from my friends. It was, at first, unacceptable. I could not keep anything alive. Yet it always seemed you were still here. I'd pick up the phone, I'd lay it back down, sitting in my car at a rest stop in the rain, the wipers intermittent. I can't remember when it rained this hard. We're not going anywhere, not in this. Dirt is just the dead waiting to be reborn as anything, as a thought, as a stone, as this thought. Bring me the powder made of emptiness. The Zen teacher offered this koan. I guess he thought it would help. Unacceptable. The earth goes on forever. From your room, you could set out and spend your whole life walking toward it. At some point, you will stop, catch your breath, and this will become home. Inside, a mother will hold her naked son across her lap, nothing left to feed him. He is just his body now. Now, she does not even remember how he came to be. And I'll just finish with this short poem. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. For poetry, amazing. Baptismal. A spider web is not a tool the spider uses to catch its prey. It is the spider, stretched outside itself. How far beyond our fingertips do our bodies extend? What is it we are suspended over? What holds us? Maybe we are the reason God made other people, so we could wait together, held. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Our final reader this afternoon will be Dawn Lundy Martin. Dawn Lundy Martin is the author of 5 books of poems, instructions for lovers available for purchase today from Powerhouse Books, Good Stock, Strange Blood, winner of the 2019 Kingsley Tufts Award in Poetry, Life in a Box is a Pretty Life, Discipline, and A Gathering of Matter, a Matter of Gathering. Instructions for Lovers explores the body and care. It is so precisely observed, a work of unstinting tenderness that explores, to quote from the poem, insistence on being, precarity as a form of divination, looking into each light form and breaking as old as the human body, its devastating fragility. Eileen Miles has described the book as the sensation of being in a body built by language. Lundy Martin's nonfiction can be found in N+1, The New Yorker, Plowshares, Best American Essays 2019 and 2021. Martin was a 2022 United States Artist Fellow, the inaugural Toy Derricott Endowed Chair in English at the University of Pittsburgh, and the founding director of the Center for African American Poetry and Poetics. Currently, she is Distinguished Writer in Residence at Bard College. Her forthcoming memoir, When a Person Goes Missing, will be published by Pantheon Books. Please give a round of applause for Dawn Lundy Martin.
After wind was water, after we were water, when water subsumed, when the thing that was water, when our arms were water, our gestures flower, our gestures bloom, when it was, when we were when. Water was not, when we subsumed water, when we shivered into. Thank you for coming on this rainy day. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to read with these distinguished writers. Before I read from Instructions for the Lovers, I will read a poem that's not in the collection. I wrote this poem for the people internally displaced across the world, in Gaza, now in the West Bank, in Somalia. I wrote this poem for my students who were at Bard in the spring semester, and then returned to the West Bank, who I actually am in touch with often, but not lately.
It's called, and I wrote this poem for people at Ivy League universities who ask me stupid questions. It's called If Only. If only I could be your preacher, but I ain't. No hope or hope placed for you to rest your weary head. I am a person like you, devastated break inside the impossibility. A land that calls itself a name, a God, a people, when we say there is already a name, a God, a people, and even if there wasn't, the human body, its subtle flesh. I cannot pray with any of you because the bodies can't be buried or are already or stain our stupid American teeth. Fresh meat being fresh meat, the microcosm eliminating the world, its spasms. What is a spasm but an elevating sphere, like a relevant sophistication in which we know slathering mouths hunt insatiable underneath rock bone. There is no room for metaphors now, only limb stubs, little legs made horror in new smallness. I'm at a party, I'm at an art reception, what have you. Someone says, why this? Why is this what you care so much about? Take me to the river, darlings. Take me to the place, the drowning place and the drowned. Take me to the snake forest and the big police dogs and the camps and the suicide regimes. Take me howl and fist. Take me gutted symbol for your newspaper rituals and unrelenting prisons of ideology. Thank you. Okay, a lot of this book is about loving and lovers, but I don't feel like reading about love and loving. So I'm gonna skip those ones. Except there might be one about fucking. I don't know, let's see what happens. Like I'm just not in the mood, you know what I mean? I'm gonna try not to read the ones about lovers, let's see. Well, this one's about eros, desire. As if the tender body is, as if the will is tender. And like any creature that has its hood up, you take a photo of yourself in front of the window, rain so dark the day, and vision desired the way you are so desperate for beautiful adventure, the lights shut off and the sweat of some hot stranger in your mouth. As if to say before is to enter a house filled with teenagers piled on top of each other. Did I tell you that it's raining? It's not hard to think that it's already night and necessary, how any green is a wild form. And lastly, I don't want to inspire devotion if it means the I becomes separated from the world. Service, as in swole, as in undying from the old French, act of homage, servitude, service at the table, from the Latin, slavery, condition of being a slave, this blessing on knees, an opportunity of grunt gratitude. Thank you for this labor in my infinite waiting, attentive in service, she said, to gathering of, to fully, to steady the body uninterrupted. Family photo, the unquenchable, the cunt's expansive well. 2 more poems. Winter. No matter what happens, however tragic, or who says what with whatever kindness or malice, or whatever is done in the name of some imagined ideal, or whoever is on their knees groveling for mercy, no matter which open palm is raised a common gesture, and the fury of it all to create a beautiful place, he said, amidst the easy brutality of that, like Fred said, and like I said, it's a reminder not to put lead in my feet, as if the nation did not simply yawn into its own mouth, trying to be itself a tango, a sweaty machine, impossible tether. A whale decomposes on the ocean floor. Didn't you know the sea is a giant grave? Where else would they go? My mother cannot tie her shoes flat argument. Does tyranny have its own music trying to find shape? At the university, we exhausted a brand of racism and wanted another, wanted whatever was wound or wound by invisible wire, our eyes blotted by stones. We could be fresh again, eager bird minds lift up our nasty bird throats, a gully to soak sound, trampling each other with envy. African Americans, they called us to shake the spikes off our rage. I escaped to the long light of island time, a swollen expanse like the breathing sea amongst the grizzled whites. Who could tell how old? Skin a joyless confetti. Wherever we were, the smother of their large bodies' monstrous shadow would not lift its weird attachment. You've heard about it. Hands, clamorous forceps, quaffing rum and ale. We're all dying for a sea spray into our nostrils, powder away the bureaucrat, endlessly twining toward nothing, the war, the standing with, all of it, the other world, almost fetish catastrophe. I swallowed the seeds too. I left them inside me to rot without a thought. Because a way of getting got is split, wedge, reduction to rudimentary tool use, or a slow killing, imperceptible, eye restrained, floating in burial dirt, my father adrift, weeds, toward scythe, a swinging, toward recompense, what's held in that bubble between loss and black body as severed wing. It is winter. Gray cement has become my face, gazes into cracked accolades, bottomed out race labor, a merciless hunt behind me, a diving that looks like falling. Into my breath, I breathe my dog's last breath, tell him, it's okay, like Alice said. Absent weight of him is what I feel, that other world as dim and unjustified as any closet filled with worms. And to Howe is the whole poem's most corporeal flank when hit, a crippling. Okay, I said 2, but that was 1, and I'm out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Can we have a round of applause for Dawn for all of our readers? Thank you.